Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another bonus episode of the Headspace podcast as I work my way through the four-piece from K-Rino. This time we're talking about 3 weeks later. That's right, it's the third piece of the four-piece. My name is Holden Stefan Roy, or HSR, depending on how you know me, and I'm here today to walk you through this album track by track and share my experiences on each and every song. That's what this show does. That's what this podcast is about. Normally I have people with me, but I've been off for the last couple of weeks, so, pop off some solo bonus episodes here. So just to let you know, I'm not a professional. Basically somebody who a couple years back said, I'm going to start reviewing albums. I'm going to learn hip-hop. And then I've been doing that week over week over week over week, just kind of studying and learning, interacting with people in the comment section. So if you come across a part of this review that you disagree with, you want to correct, you want to add to anything, you want to just have a conversation, let me know in the comment section. And I promise you that we are a small enough channel that I can answer every single person that leaves a comment. And I will do so because I appreciate you taking that time and effort to even leave a comment. But before we jump into it today, I just want to give a special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Super Old School 1994, Lindell Williams, and Carl J. We'll talk a bit about that at the end. And fair warning, I've been trying to cut down on my coffee intake, and it's pretty early in the day to be recording one of these, so if I'm a little off, it's a lack of caffeine. But today we're going to be going through K-Rino's 3 Weeks Later, and at this point in the review, I like to kind of contextualize my familiarity with the artist because I believe it's a significant part of the relationship you'll have with the music. If you've been bumping K-Rino for 30 years, you're going to feel differently about this album than me, who has only been bumping K-Rino for like a year. For my history, I have a cousin who's been trying to push K-Rino on me for like ever, and then he dropped Mightier Than the Sword. We reviewed that shit, and honestly, it just like blew my mind. The quality of writing, the diversity of tracks, subject matter, and stuff, it got me excited that when I knew he was doing this four-piece, like, I just knew in my heart I had to review all of these albums because it would just be so worth it for me as a listener, because K-Rino brings up such interesting subject matter, and it's like worth delving into, and it's worth discovering. And then I saw how famous he was, and I was like, damn, that's just not just or right. Like, he has, 15,000 subscribers on YouTube? Like, I know rappers with half the career, not even half, like a smidgen of the career who are popping more in a numbers sense than K-Rino seems to be. And I figured if I'm going to have this platform here where I can review people, why not also make sure to review K-Rino? So that's something I just chose to do here. And I'm just so interested in this guy that I'm probably going to go back and do stuff like review the 7 albums dropped on the day and go through a lot of his discography, because he's just kind of made me rethink things like how good is Eminem and questions like that, because prior to K-Rino, there wasn't many people I saw with a lyricism pen game that could be as versatile and diverse. So now that I've seen this, it's like, what else is in the underground? Like, it really just tripped me out the first time I got that experience. Now, for those of you who've been watching these 4 pieces, I probably said a very similar thing in each of them. I mean, it's kind of what it is, but there is that chance that this is the first one you're watching, so I should probably do the intro-ish the same. I mean, my feelings on K-Rino haven't changed in the last 24 hours. I recorded the first two pieces yesterday in my time, even though in your time of watching this, it might be completely different. I did want to comment on one thing, again, because this might be your first and only time here talking to me, or listening to me, is that on this album, I came across a bit of a frustrating circumstances. As a reviewer, I rely on websites like Genius.com, which posts the lyrics up. I don't need the lyrics to hear what the song's about. I need quotes of the lyrics to like express to everyone else a little bit some of the ways they rhyme. Like, it's hard to just describe it without directly quoting a rapper. In my opinion, if you're not able to like look at the lyrics and say this is what he actually said and this is why it's dope or what it made you feel, it's less of a review. So the time it took me to create this review, considering only at the time I reviewed it, 2 of the songs had lyrics up, and now 3 of the songs have lyrics up. Like, I can see how other reviewers are going to skip over this, because the level of effort to create this review is a lot harder if the lyrics aren't there. Kids are accustomed to seeing lyrics when their rapper or favorite rapper drops. So since all you K-Rino fans watching this can all do one song each, it's like by the end of the day, y'all could have the entire album's lyrics up if we really wanted to. Anyone can create a Genius account. It'll take you like an hour easily to do one song. I'm not even going to pretend it doesn't take that long, but I just think that if people want to see K-Rino popping more, and since most of us probably are not buying his albums, the very least we can do is help. And I promise that when my money situation is nice, I will purchase every album I've ever reviewed. So, I mean, you'll get that money one day, K-Rino. It's just, we can annotate his lyrics, we can build a community on it. But when I go look, and the fact that the song 3 Weeks Later has only been viewed by 65 people, it makes me wonder if it's just because, like, this community doesn't know that Genius exists. But if we're talking about moving records over the internet, this is definitely a good thing to have in place, in my opinion. Anyway, that's enough of that. I'm going to say it one more time when I record the next review. And hopefully when his next album drops, you'll be like all the other fan bases and have the lyrics up within an hour of the album coming out. Because I watched that shit, man. I watched the timing. And usually if the Genius people don't do it within the first day of an album being out, the fan base has got it covered. So I'm just sharing what I see on the internet. This album is 3 Weeks Later. I guess it's just, I don't really know what the significance of that title was. Like, maybe it's 3 weeks after the first album has happened. I guess that would be my biggest thing. So we had Lightning Language, and there was a significant event that happens there. And maybe this is just taking taking place 3 weeks after that particular event. On the cover, you'll see that it's a calendar with some extra days. So there's 3 26s and 2 15s. Then K-Rino made this really fun video where he just like, yep, our bad, etc., etc. We fucked up. Look, you can get this collector's edition with the bad title. Buy now. And then pulled up the corrected version, and it still had 2 15s. It was pretty funny just to see him like just put it up. And then he had to put up another video being like, whoops, that one was also messed up. I guess I'm just K-Rino. Even a month can't happen proper. I thought that was funny. But yeah, I like the cover. It's got a sad face on the 5th, and then it's a happy face on what should be the 24th, but is the 25th, because that math doesn't really work, but that's okay. I really like the idea of it. Or no, maybe it does work. Maybe I'm just crazy. Still, 5th to 25th, it's there, even though there's 2 extra 15s. And yeah, it's really interesting. It's like, that was a sad and hard 3 weeks. Now let's talk about something almost happier, you know? Like, it's time to move on from that situation. So I thought that the overall album cover was cool. I thought that it might be my favorite album cover of the 4-piece, just because it's just a calendar. It's so simple. But like the other two, you could totally shrink that down into a patch and wear it up on your like chest or your bag or something. And I really would buy these K-Rino patches, because while 75 American dollars is expensive for a little Canadian like me, I could probably drop $10 on some patches. Anyway, either way, let's get into it. I'm just kind of rambling now, and there's still 11 tracks to get through. So why don't we discuss 3 Weeks Later?
All my time with this new lady, I knew we might run away together.
I just wasn't expecting this song. So it's worth noting that his bike got stolen on the first album. He also brings up his bike in the therapy session on the second album. And then this song starts off. It was only 3 weeks later. He's at the park. He saw this beautiful girl. And he's like going in deep on this romance part. Like, man, if we were young, I would have taken her to prom. It was getting deep. I let her meet my mom. I let her meet my dad. I let her meet my dog. Hanging every single day, man. We did it all, etc. He's like almost like fantasizing about how good this woman is, I think. And then feels like a year, but it's only been 21 days. I guess he's been dating this girl that long. I don't know. Anytime I needed her around, she would come. She's thinking we might run away together. So I believe he's just like, he took her on a date, you know, and set all this shit up. He's impressing this singer girl, etc. He's letting us all know about this little budding relationship. He was just about to run her fingers through her hair, and then, hold up, wait, is that my bike over there? And you're just like, what? Did that just happen? Did K-Rino just bring the bike back in, and then all that romance shit is done. We're in a new song. This is one of the most catch you off guard, impressive, and dope segues in a song I've ever seen. So he takes off running. He left his lady still sitting there on their date, and he's just going after his bike, and he takes off and just runs after it. I mean, look, this song is very story driven, so the lyrics are pretty dope. I mean, it just really moves the narrative along while rhyming and keeping it consistent. So this is one of those situations I couldn't let go. This guy saw me and it scared him half to death. Didn't even take the food and he ordered. He just left. Obviously couldn't catch him, so I stood looking silly as he rolled off, laughing at me, popping a wheelie. Like, wow, what do I do now? I guess it seems I'm gonna have to reacquire it through other means. So the guy on the bike ran off, he can't catch him. Then he proceeds to go to like some cave where the creator of the bike also created a duplicate bike, and he starts describing it like the handlebars converted to weapons that shot lasers, an impressive lethal specimen disguised as a relic, and he used nitrocellulose rocket fuel to propel it. I wonder if he knew what the bike was capable of. At that moment I saw him again, hovering above. Yeah, he knows, but how could he have ever figured that? Never mind, all I want to do right now is get it back. So he's describing how actually cool the bike is, like it's some super duper bike. Then he goes and he meets the maker, and he has to like humbly admit that he lost the bike, and then the maker kind of gives him a bit of a beatdown and scolding him for 8 hours, covering facts because he knew that the bike was gone and he should have done this. He's like, how could you have, whatever. And then K-Rino's like, can I just establish something and try to make it a little bit better. And then he just mushed his face and said not to return until he has it. Then he like heads out, and then there's just describes this crazy fucking battle that goes on. And once he beat him, the spell breaks and he's freed, and he's staring at the face of one who tried to deceive him. But if I tell you who it was, you wouldn't even believe me. But I know what you're thinking, but nah, it ain't him, or is it? So I asked my cousin, and he said it's probably the sorcerer. I haven't heard that saga, so I don't know what it's about yet. But that would be really cool if he uses this 4-piece as like this little sequence that appeared across these albums as a means to almost reintroduce that maybe in the near future we're getting another adventure of this villain. And I was like, damn, K-Rino has officially blown my mind fucking again. So this song had the lyrics on it, and I was able to go in and like quote some shit proper and whatever, and that's really cool. So I appreciate that guy on Genius. I even messaged him to say I appreciated him, because man, to put up all the lyrics, that's pretty cool. For the rest of this album, there are 2 more songs that had the lyrics and the rest don't, and we're gonna have to rely on my notes, and that's just what it is. So why don't we talk a bit about One Foot In?
Look to heaven for trust. Even my girl be stunting on me when there's money surrounding.
What I like about K-Rino is he takes on a song like your street hustler, poor kid who is selling drugs instead of maybe making the right path in life. And it's interesting, right? Because like we just did Gangsta Nip's The South Park Psycho, and this song is reminiscent to me of Gotta Get Out the Game, where it's almost the other end of it, where you're still in it and you're like trying to make sense of it all, and you're trying to like figure a way out, and you don't really like the circumstances you're living in. But K-Rino has taken a different route while approaching a very similar subject matter. And it's almost like he's speaking to more people like me, people who aren't in the situation, to almost like compassionately try to explain in a different tone, in a different set of language, like what that experience is like. Because K-Rino, I've noticed across these projects, and I might bring it up again later, but he hasn't really been negative in a sense where he attacks anyone in particular. He attacks weak MCs in a vague sense, but it's unlike most things I've heard media-wise approaching these subjects. It's like he's really absorbed a lot of knowledge and wisdom and has reached a place in his life where rage isn't necessarily fueling him. I mean, it might be because these are heavy topics, but he's not displaying rage. He's actually taking the time to show compassion. Anyway, there are some really great lines that are exploring just parts of like this song, like now I'm grinding, society completely denies me, couple of tattoos on my face and people won't hire me, lawmakers do plenty dirt, lying and cheating, you made this plate, now you want to lock us up just for eating. And that's an interesting way to look at it. So you have some kids, he gets a face tattoo when he's like 16 because of XYZ reason. That's for life. Maybe his judgment wasn't the greatest, and now, just because he has a face tattoo, he can't go work somewhere? I mean, I honestly hate it when fuckers talk like that. Like, how does a person's tattoos fucking, like, how come you can have a full colorful sleeve? Like, literally, you don't even see your skin left. It's just ink. And that's acceptable. You can be piercings, yeah, and if you're a hot girl, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But, like, if you're a kid with a face tattoo, you're now incompetent because what? You got a face tattoo, so you don't have judgment? Like, I don't understand the logic, right? And then it's true. He follows that up, like, the people in charge do bad shit. We see that, we copy it, we get clipped. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. And this is pretty much everyone. I don't think it's just any one community, but I like the focus on this particular nuance, but he writes it in a way where it's super translatable to many other experiences as well. I mean, gotta watch everything. Even a girl can betray you. I mean, that's a heavy world to live in, you know? He was inspired by the OGs instead of listening to advice. The only time he goes to school is serving as teacher. It's like you have this idea where, I mean, the kid realizes that going to school is probably dead end for most people. I mean, most people really don't want to go, and most people in middle class America don't even stay at jobs for a year because they don't feel shit's worth it. You know, the level of quote-unquote entitlement in that attitude is for real, and it's commonplace. So I can only imagine what it's like to be a young kid in a poor environment who's basically told that if you go to school and do all this shit, chances are you're gonna get a bullshit job where you have to travel for 4 hours a day just to try to make ends meet. Then your alternative is selling drugs. Well, I mean, I come from poverty. I know that if maybe the opportunity to have sold drugs was in front of my face, I might have been stupid enough to engage in that. I don't mean to call it stupid because that, in my case, it would have been stupid because I didn't have that life that forced me into it. I might have just been dumb enough to choose to go chase it over some glorified ideals. I don't know. Then he has a kid, but all he can do is sell drugs or whatever. So he paints this picture, you know, describing the life of how the kid ends up in this environment where he's doing this. But then he has this kid and he's trying to find a way out. But all he knows how to do is sell drugs. Because when you are in your 20s, you'll realize skills matter a lot. And it's weird that the problem with selling drugs is it's not really shit you can talk about. So you could probably get a killer sales position with that experience, but if you told somebody that's what you did for your income, there's no way they'd fucking hire you, so you can't even validate your experience and you're kind of fucked. It's really a weird trap, you know? I mean, you guys probably know. Thought about going to college, but his baby mama and son need money today. I mean, that's another interesting concern. If you want to do things right, like this YouTube grind for me was always a 5 to 6 year plan in my head from the day I started. I had to wait until I was able to sustain myself to do that. But if you have a kid and you're broke and that baby's got to eat, you don't have the luxury of going away to college to make sure your family's good later on if you can't even take care of them now, because college is a privilege that comes with money. Anyway, it just kind of flows in that overall tone. It's got a good hook that really draws on those empathy strings. And one of my favorite lines, though, is if you tell a youngin to stop hustling, you better have a job ready or they will laugh and go back to what they know. And that's fair, because many a time I've talked to people and tried to explain, oh, there's a better way to do shit. You can do things wiser, because I was gifted enough to find ways to a better life. And then realize that if I can't give you that job, or I can't specifically give you the exact set of instructions on how to replicate it, and you're not, like, I can't guide you there, then I'm just saying empty words, and you're going to run off and do whatever the fuck you want. I really like this song. I think it hits a note really proper. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. For my grading system, a 4 is a good song that meets everything a good song's supposed to have. Between 4 and 5 is where most of my gradings because I try to cherry pick good albums, and that's basically it. 4.5 is a great song to me. It's something I would definitely listen to again. But whereas 3 Weeks Later blew my fucking mind, One Foot In just really hit me in a great way. I don't know. Still talking compared to the average song, it's exceptional. I'm just trying to explain my grading system because I grade everything too high as far as everyone else is concerned, but I grade everything against all music ever. So there are shits that are 1, and this sounds nothing like that. Anyway, the next track is Cut Jugular.
Murder so swift, I don't remember it. News traveled so quickly that it was on the internet before I fit.
I mean, this has an eerie, creepier kind of beat, and basically the whole song is a lyrical onslaught. I've noticed that every album has had at least one or two lyrical onslaughts just to prove that, again, through sheer imagination and force of will, he is able to come up with flossing rhymes in an imaginative way that sounds like nothing else. I mean, a lot of rappers talk about how they're the best, but they end up saying the same thing as like every other fucking rapper who's talking about how they're the best. I mean, in some cases, even Eminem is kind of saying the same things everyone else is talking about. K-Rino doesn't do that. K-Rino instead just focuses on coming up with new line after new line that's going to be crazy and interesting to listen to, in a sense, proving empirically that he is a more imaginative rapper than others. Like, fracture autoimmune systems for crooning all of these whack tunes, the human vacuum that can snatch you from the back room, jack the moon and pass it down as a family heirloom, more savage than the offspring of a baboon and a raccoon. Like, that's some crazy good rhyming right there. It flows in. This song has I really appreciated how it's tighter, how it's got almost like a quicker pace to it. Like some of the other ones were a little slower and heavier, but I really like this one. It has a great energy to it. In general, I can't say that it changes much from this tone. It's basically crazy bars for days, but what K-Rino does with his crazy bars for days is he makes them all interesting. So my phenomenon is the first time I hear it, I'm like, what is this fucking guy going to say next? The next time you hear it, you start catching things and thinking about them, which makes you miss the rest of the song. Then you play it again, and then you play it again. Next thing you know, you played it like 7 times, and you realize you haven't even really touched how brilliant this shit is. So that is why I would say K-Rino's an excellent lyricist, because he says shit like, murder so swift I don't remember it, news travels so quickly it was on the internet before I finished it. See, that's cool, because it's like, not only is it dope, but it's kind of taking into account how life works now. So it's a realistic dope bar. Like, his shit's so powerful that people are already there catching it. Like, it was already huge news as it's happening. And I know K-Rino plays a lot in impossible bars, but like literally impossible things. But that's what makes it fascinating. Like, his character transcends reality. Lieutenant, it's lieutenant, but I'm in Canada, so lieutenant of the printed word syndicate, the venom that was meant to meant to heal the sick and the invalid. What mister can resist this type of vicious that this mouth spits? I'm like, damn, it's pretty great rhyming. My records got you scared straight as a fed's case, because scared straight's that program in the jails and shit, and then a fed case will scare you straight, like 6ix9ine. Just throwing it out there. Any thoughts on how that kid can survive in witness protection with the tattoos? Like, I get with the haircut you can cut it off, but that kid has so many tattoos. It's like he'd have to wear makeup anytime he went in public. I digress. I really like this track a lot. A little bit more of dope lines that really struck out to me is exhibit no sympathy like a killer bee with next degree artillery, eerily swarm peripheries, rappers insidiously act duplicitly while I sit blissfully listening to the spirits whispering distantly. But if you trigger me, it could be slippery. My prolific written efficiency is simply God-given, not serendipity killing. Complicitly, critics typically disagree, switching delivery. And then he keeps going, and I'm like, that was ridiculous. It was tight. So much rhyming happening there. Saying some shit. He hollers at God, calls out critics, like, pulls out just like how ridiculous he is. I really like this. This is great rhyming to me. I'm not like sold 100% on the beat. Like, it's great beat, but it's not like enthralling to me. So I'm giving it a 4.5 on 5. But his rhyming, the more I listen to it, the more I like it. Like, I've heard so much K-Rino this week that if it was most other artists, I would be fucking sick of it. But it's so well put together that there's no such thing as a bad song here. Like, I'm calling the lowest grades I think I've given for the most part great. It's so impressive to me, because like, I review a lot of albums. Like, I think I've got uploaded like 420 videos, and I'm still calling this great compared to virtually all the other shit I've heard in terms of imagination and rap skill. Preference and sound and what I like to listen to are a little bit different. There are styles I enjoy as much as I enjoy this, but in this lane, K-Rino is killing it. Anyway, the next track is called Misery Loves Company.
Use your mouth, 'cause you got people who listen just to plant seeds of doubt.
I like that K-Rino is as old as he is and knows all about Instagram and Facebook, and like, he still sounds like a dad joke kind of guy to me sometimes. Like, no offense, but I appreciate his willingness to adapt and be interesting. This song kind of follows on the theme of some of the hater tracks we've gotten so far over these last two projects, where each one has kind of been like a different particular sub niche. It's like he's able to hone in on a particular topic and drill home. So it might be that some people are just after what you have, or it might be that some people are just jealous of the fact that you have success and they can't keep up. In this case, it's that people want you to be miserable. If they're miserable, they want you to be miserable. And that these people who are salty and they're almost stalky, like snakes in the grass, watching you, just looking for any mistake you make, looking for any opportunity to pull out any little thing that they can find on you to bring you down, rather than make any efforts to like lift you up. I mean, I didn't quote a whole lot of lines in this song because, I mean, the subject is pretty clear and K-Rino kind of drills it on through. And I'll be honest, at this point, I was a little bit tired of transcribing lyrics during my review process, so I started getting a little lazy. But when they want you to be single, homie. That's what's wrong. Some people just like being lonely, just don't like being lonely alone. It's the only thing that makes them feel happy is being sad. And it's like, I'm certain many of you have met these people, especially as you get older. Like, a lot of this shit's cute when you're 21. Like, your life's a mess, it's okay, everyone understands, everyone's forgiving. Somewhere around 25, 26, it starts to get kind of annoying. If you're still doing it in your 30s, it's just depressing. K-Rino's even past that, so I can only imagine what the salty people in his life are like, especially the people who have been around for 30 years with him and watched him become this established, successful, well-respected man. And then these guys might not be that. And so I feel like it's I don't know, it's just powerfully put together. And again, touching on truth. It's almost like a warning to people, this is what to watch for. And he does it in such a deep dive way where he drills down and gives you so many specifics on what to watch for that it's almost like after hearing his project, you have no excuse if you want to congregate with these people. I love the part about 28 messages and whining and energy draining. And it's like, as I've had that moment where you just get like beep, 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 and you start listening and they're all the same. Like, you listen to 2 messages and you've heard them all, so you just delete them all. And it just felt really accurate. Like, he's a guy who tries to be good. He always seems to be willing to listen and hear you out, but now he's getting tired of some shit that he's been facing. I thought this was a really cool song. I gave it a 4.6 on 5, and yeah. The next one, though, it might be one of the most impressive songs I encountered on this entire 4-piece. It's called Flat vs. Globe.
All demonstrated the proof. We have days, nights, time zones that happen as we spun.
So here we have K-Rino playing 3 different characters in a debate. So he has the debate introducer person kind of showing in, now this person is going to show that the earth is round, and this one is going to, or globe, and this one's going to show that it's flat. And then it's cool because he just has like K-Rino and his more normal K-Rino voice showing, okay, well, anyone with common sense will know that in actuality the earth can only be a globe. The theory of a flat planet is just a fabrication. There's years of documented ship circumnavigation. You liars came along and eliminated truth. The ancient scholars have all demonstrated the proof. We have days, nights, time zones that happen as we spun, verifying we're absolutely circling the sun. I am not into flat earth theory. I think it's completely full of shit. And my main reason why it's completely full of shit is because nobody talks about Galileo. So K-Rino's bringing him up in a sense here, but people act like NASA made up this theory. Like NASA did it. But, like, I don't know, 400 years of people proving it, and you never really hear the flat earth side go back that far. It's always, like, 30, 40 years of shit, or maybe 60, 70, and I don't know. I'm just trying to say that it seems weird, the idea, but I appreciate the fact that K-Rino was very well researched on both sides, so he manages to bring up every flat earther argument in this song. We're not circling the sun's above us, day and night is the result of it moving from side to side. The principles are not hard to uncover. When it's shining on one side, there's darkness on the other. And then K-Rino's like, the sun's 93 miles away. It's not, it's closer and it's hot or whatever. And it's a couple of interesting points is like, so NASA's in the U.S., why haven't other people, like, collaborated? And then the flat earthers is like, what, you think that all the government leaders aren't conspiring? No. If you follow global politics, you will know that there is definitely impossible that virtually every fucking government person on Earth is conspiring. And with all the whistleblowers and shit, it's nearly impossible that this could have stayed a secret. I'm just throwing it out there. Nearly impossible. Like, I think people overestimate the government so much. I think they're just so incompetent compared to, like, conspiracy theorists who think they're brilliant. I think maybe corporations and lobbyists are that good, but not the government. I don't know. It just keeps kind of flowing, and then he describes the fishbowl effect through windows, and it's like there's just an answer to everything. And it's almost like you cut off the globe guy a bunch to let the flat earth guy talk a whole lot. In a sense, it just feels like that. And then, yeah, I don't know. He just kind of describes a bunch of shit. The telescopes aren't real, and it's just like, it sounds exactly like a flat earth debate. Like, it really does. It is. I've had that debate. And it sounds like that debate. And then I like that he ends the song with the debater host person kind of throwing out that this is a stupid thing to stress over and that you're wasting your fucking time. There's more important things to worry about. I kind of agree. I think that I have to worry about the fact that flat earthers exist and anti-vaxxers exist. Now, whether or not you're into vaccinations or not, the measles are back. Here's what I can tell you. The rise of anti-vaxxing, the measles. I mean, maybe it's all bullshit. Maybe they're all poisoning everybody. But if the measles kills everybody, that's a bad situation. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, this is just how I look at it, because I like science and like real knowledge, and I don't like conspiracy theorist propaganda. So the fact that the flat earth movement is so powerful that K-Rino felt the need to write this song scares me as a person. Like, how did we get to this point where science doesn't matter, where people are so skeptical that they're willing to waste all their time proving something like the earth is flat, something that I guess in a sense has no bearing on their life. Like, what a waste of fucking time. If you think it's not, cool. What have you proved? What have you gained? Except for the like 8 YouTubers who've capitalized on this to make hella money. The rest of y'all are just wasting time. Anyway, this song's a brilliant 5 to me. It is a very cool song, mostly for the objectivity and how we put this shit together. This was not necessarily meant to convince you of one thing or another. It was meant to kind of call the whole thing ridiculous. The entire debate is ridiculous. And it is. And if you really want to fight me in the comments about flat earthers and shit, I will answer you. But I don't know that I'll take you 100% seriously as a person if you really do come at me like that. There's a reason B.O.B. doesn't have a career anymore. Anyway, the next track is called The Experiment.
Based on each's economical status, some we will exalt to the highest, while the other...
This is a very cool song. So it takes place in a kind of fictional world or theoretical world where it's describing a potential social experiment to an intergalactic council manipulating behavioral patterns of inferior species. So he then proceeds to describe life on Earth and just kind of pointing shit out. Like, starts off with creating and breeding them and educate them poorly, segregate them by different things like rich and poor, study how everyone reacts as they make it worse. And then he just kind of describes shit like the current state of electronic brainwashing. It's like, watch the nicest ones become savage in a crisis. This is so while the Flat vs. Globe had lyrics, it was one of those. This one does not, so we're back on that grind. And he generally just paints out a really honest landscape of marketing manipulation and the various tactics used by everyone to control. Because while I'm not sold on an idea of an Illuminati per se, I do think that the wealthy elite want us distracted from how fucked up and how wealthy and elite they are. Because if we're distracted and fighting about flat earthers and globes, which, holy shit, these two songs connect, right? So even because I've noticed that there's a lot of these little connecting. So he does flat versus globe and then shows how there's an experiment. And in a sense, dropping this flat earther knowledge out there and pushing this. It probably started with a really well-intentioned, like as in manipulative, dark, well-intentioned 4chan kind of theory post. And he caught a couple people and made it go viral. Going viral is a science, and yeah, especially back when this started, people were a lot stupider online. So I believe that that is something that could be done. People like to destroy people, especially if they threaten their status quo. And our status quo does not really encourage free thought. So it's got shit like purposely prepare slaves through radio airways, formulate drugs, then distribute them in every state, and make conditions that cause them to use them to escape. What if we make them run to evil and see good with reluctance, make them prioritize the superficial, not substance? And that is kind of what's happening here. If you look at TV, if you look at especially what hip-hop and other pop, not just hip-hop, country's just as bad. I feel like everyone gives country a pass, but it's fucking terrible. I mean, rock music's got all these like mid-30s guys writing to 14-year-old girls. Like, there's all sorts of weird shit in the music industry when you have all of these people selling for money, writing to get paid. They'll say and do anything, and then we keep catching all these weird stories, and nobody really looks at the system to see, well, what's fucked up, you know? We'll control all that they listen to and all that they watch. Deny them basic human rights. See how they react. Those things might not have been in order in the song, but they're just powerful shit. So they'll control what you see. And if you really look at what like Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook are doing in like Asia and shit, where they're giving the internet away for free to all these people, but they don't really know what the internet is. They go on Facebook and everything's in Facebook. Like, you don't understand the level of like control that can be happening through private corporations. So I think the big difference I have between many people is that I know that the villains' names are guys like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. They're also the heroes, but they're also the villains. So they'll do anything for their egos, in a sense. And you guys are, a lot of conspiracy theorists are looking for hidden monsters, but Jeff Bezos is the backbone of the internet. I think Tim Cook is the Apple guy. They just don't pay taxes. Jeff Bezos doesn't pay taxes. You guys want poverty to end, get Jeff Bezos to pay taxes. Like, anyway, that kind of shit. Stop pointing your guns at the fucking shape of the planet kind of shit. Anyway, this ends by saying, like, how do you know that your experiment is even going to work, that it's a good idea? And they basically go, well, we already did it successfully on a planet called Earth, and I appreciate it, because while this could be conspiracy theory in tone, he handles it, in my opinion, really maturely and spits pure truth throughout the whole song based on my understanding of truth. So I gave this a 5 on 5, and it was imaginative, it was crazy good and fun to listen to, even though it was a little slower, and maybe that's not always my favorite thing. When you're packing such substance in your bars, it totally works. Anyway, the next track on this project is called Divine DNA.
To the present in actual time, physically designed out of his supernatural mind. Your blood is like the water that exists.
I like the fact that he manages to go hard on a song, basically saying we're made in God's image. It's like almost a religious praise God song. But he's like, we got divine DNA, straight from the creator, but manifest when we put a mind on display. And you're like, yeah, let's go hard for God. We don't see that a lot. That could be cool. I mean, just imagine Migos dropped like a praise Jesus track to like the tone of Bad and Bougie. Like, as Kanye West said, you know, talk about God, your record won't get played. But I really like this. This was really cool. It made me believe that K-Rino and I understand God in a very similar way. He opens with describing creation and free will, and I think free will is an important thing people don't understand, but it's really cool. Verse 2 is about like sin and temptation and stuff like I'm glad he would connect, and then in verse 3, I'm glad he would bless and connect me with ancestry. So it's like just to know that by going to your past and to your roots and to kind of like studying your history and culture, you can kind of resist that and kind of embrace the bigger things. But I really, really loved when he's like, he lays out for us a righteous itinerary, but this world functions on the contrary, placing the mind to go against our nature by devilish ways that the iniquity that shaped us. The world makes us self-hating patrons, so God only knows... So God ways now have a debate replacement. Used to be wide or woke, now we sleep a lot, and everything we ever once was we forgot. And I think it's an interesting point, because on the one hand, I don't know enough about the Nation of Islam and all of their teachings, so I think this also might be related to that, so I'm not going to just touch on that. I'm going to take it from like a literal point of Christianity God, which I understand, and it fits in proper. Like, it really locks in with the doctrine of it, of just really like the way I've read the Bible and ignoring the interpretations of churches I've encountered is you're supposed to talk to God, have a prayer relationship with him, or her, I don't really care the gender, where you kind of share your thoughts, show appreciation, and work towards a better thing. And then you actively move towards shit through this faith-driven learning conquest. I mean, I've been on a really big self-journey growth type life for a while now, and it's basically I just copied what religion taught me and applied it to my life. Whether or not God isn't specifically talking to God, I mean, it all boils down to the same process. And I think that's super interesting. But really, the idea of how we used to be wide or woke, like aware, caring about what's going on, and now we just let ourselves sleep and get distracted by everything. I mean, one of the Christian tenets is to respect your body because it's a temple, and that includes your mind, and you're supposed to respect it and grow and shit. And if you do have divine DNA, you should be treating it as such. His flows are ridiculous on this song. It's one of my favorites in terms of just tricky flows and fun shit to listen to. The beat's really cool. It just feels like a fucking banger about God. Like, I haven't really said banger a lot on this project, but that's what it feels like. And I think it's really an amazing thing to hear that is honestly just a little bit unexpected in my perception. I gave this song a 4.75 on 5, and I really liked it. Like, this album is pretty fucking solid so far. So the next one is Thick and Thin.
Got you still held on to that rope when most people slipped on the slope or jumped from the boat.
This is a really, again, interesting, I feel, educational tone song. Trying to, again, just show you what Thick and Thin is about. And I don't know. The beat is really, really good. I feel like that do 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 do, like it has a kind of somber tone to it, but almost at the same time a victoriousness in that somber. Like there's struggles, but he knows what he's looking for. And like in verse 2, when you are at a low and how people judge you versus those who see what you will become. I thought that was a really powerful thing he brings up. Like each one did some dirt and we still forgave each other. Like you see this whole idea of where like his squad or his idea of friendship isn't about the here and now. It's about the what will become. It's people who see you now, forgive and understand the person you are, understand that you will be kind of evolving into something different. And then verse 3 paints out a whole bunch of realistic shit, like kind of showing how things don't necessarily work out, but actually staying together through thick and thin cannot be like an understated virtue. It also might be about a relationship. I'm not 100% sure, like a romantic one. But in general, like it just painted this idea of what thick and thin really means. Like you might fuck up. You might do some dark ass shit. Like you might cheat on somebody. You might rob somebody. You might, in a darker, bad place, commit a crime even. And your real thick and thin friends will understand and still be there with you. And your girl who's really there in the thick and thin will still ride with you in light of these mistakes is kind of a sentiment. Now, obviously, it's not like a gold card to do what you want, because I believe part of that you have to do all of the other things that are kind of correlated to this song, of to live properly, work towards your dreams, to actually be that bigger person. I don't know. I thought it was really strong. Haters hating from the sideline, but y'all ain't listen. Family members all in your business, causing division, arguments. They was real, but they got fixed. So when we see them years later, they be still in the midst. And I was like, damn. So like you have all these family people interfering, especially if you're dating somebody and like that family doesn't like you or whatever, but you stick with it and it creates problems. And then every time you see that family, there's still that underlying tension of that never got resolved, even though it kind of did. Like it's just sometimes shit gets fucked up, but that person who's really with you will stick with you through that. It's hard to be somebody loyal who won't ever flip up or change up, to one who stayed down when financial problems came up. You was out of work and they took up the slack with nothing said, never threw it in your face or held it over your head. That word love, good to have somebody who knows what it means. And it's just like deep, man. Just have people who will hold you down no matter what. I don't know. This song kind of got me in the feels. I started really thinking about the people in my life and the relationships I have of the people who have proven now to be down through the thick and the thin. And it got me feeling appreciative. And again, giving you some good insight into like what to look for in people. And I don't know that there's a lot of social education in how to pick good friends, but K-Rino's albums have that. So now K-Rino is the authority on social education or something, because I'm not seeing other people really do this. And I admire how he really lives up to being your big bro, K-Rino. So I give this a 5. It blew my mind. It got me in the feels. Like every time I heard the beat, I was like, damn. Anyway, the next track is about a higher life form, and thank goodness the lyrics are there.
Stoppable like a vehicle with cut brake wires. Quickly roll up on your soldiers and took over. Show up and
Like I said, there would be a second braggadocious track on this album. He seems to have 2 per, and this is the other one on this project, and it is just fucking dope. Like, the chorus is just nice. Like, soon as you turn the mic on, I become a higher life form, right from the morning till the night's gone. Staying warm, naked in the ice storm. Conceptual lights born, K-Rino, the higher life form. So, for one thing, you would not be naked in a fucking ice storm. I lived through the ice storm in 98 in Montreal. That shit was fucked up. You just wouldn't, because it's stupid. But yeah, it's a cool line in a sense. I get it. He transcends and he does impossible shit. I just, sometimes he'll say some things and I'll be like, you don't know what you're saying, sir. You just don't know. But I really appreciated this. It was very much, again, like, of everybody that you're going to encounter, K-Rino spits at a different caliber and a different tier. And he just proceeds to, like, prove it. He says shit like, a brainstorm is weak, I get brain tsunamis. Like, oh, you think you guys can plan? Well, my shit's next level. I thought that was really fun. No pliers, I use my mind to unscrew bolts. It's just shit like that. Like, it's like his obsession with powerful minds and telekinetic abilities, and just, I think it's cool. Like, it really is about elevating your brain as a conceptual weapon, like some Killer Pre shit versus the Wu-Tang. I won't tell you everything I will do, but it might take you apart just to see if I can rebuild you. No one to relieve pain like lyrical oxycodone. And then I'm like, wow, that's actually pretty good. So he's going to dismantle you, put you back together, and then in general, his lyrics are so good, they're basically like a fucking painkiller. I had to look twice for a second just to see if there was like a feature on this song, as I honestly thought for a quick second a second rapper had joined us, but no, it was just K-Rino. And then he says some shit that I really admired in his writing. I write songs. I can't say I'm a great MC, but I can tell you that I've always approached songs like essays, and to see K-Rino drop some shit like every line is an essay, my presence is unquestionable, I see the regret in your retinal section as the essence of life exits you. Okay, that essay part fit what I was saying, and then it was just dope after. Your respiratory press is unmeasurable because no oxygen is left within your chest. Vital signals are undetectable. Power moves insurmountable because people from all around, they use my music for fuel, hold me accountable. So time is taken, understandably, every creative strand, cavity created by hand, planted or organically. And I'm like, yo, so not only is he going to destroy you as an MC, but he has to hold himself to like a higher standard of life because he knows that I guess people like me are going to take his music and use it as fuel to inspire and all of that other shit. And because of that, he can't slip. He has to maintain this degree of excellence. As far as all the braggadocious ones went, this might be one of my absolute favorites that I heard. I gave the song a 5 on 5. I think his flows were ridiculous. It was a little less silly, a little more I'ma get you. And I think I really appreciated how good he is at that. Anyway, the next track on this project also blew my fucking mind. It's called Differences.
it's mistaken for greed. Just because something's inactive doesn't mean it's useless. And being
As a person, I've become obsessed with language and definitions because in most of my past arguments, it was often just a miscommunication over understanding what a particular word actually meant, creating an entire argument that could have led to terminations of relationships or mistakes or bad things. So I became really into it. And then I started listening to this song. There's a difference between feeling good and being healthy. There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. And he's right. Wealth is like generational shit. It's like all the assets. It's your value. Rich is you got money. It's little compared to wealth. Wealth is, again, generational. Wealth is like what your kids are going to get. Rich is what you're going to blow. Because you lend me a hand don't mean you wanted to do it. Wishing for something ain't the same as working to pursue it. And never misled yourself about what you need. Determination to succeed gets mistaken for greed. When he said that, though, I was like, fuck, that's my life. I am so determined to succeed that I spend all these times reviewing these albums and working on various things in my life to try to build up something to pursue it. And I'm so adamantly committed to this, to a point where maybe I'm even too cold, but I will cut you the fuck out of my life if I don't think that there's any value for you to be in my life, because I'm working towards something, and if you're not also working towards something, it's not good. But people often take my determination for success and the ways I look and just assume I'm a greedy asshole trying to get some shit, and they look the same, but they're not the same. Just because something's inactive doesn't mean it's useless, and ignorance is not the same as stupid. Loved it. I have practiced my vocal work as an MC every day of my life for the last 7 years. Whether I've written songs or whether I've recorded or released or whatever, I've been working on that thing so that when the time came, I could pop off and be dope. You know what I mean? Now I can record in my room and I can produce my own shit, and then still I practice even if I'm not focusing on it. So it's inactive. It's definitely not useless, because I don't know if I could podcast if I wasn't a rapper. I don't know if I would have my day job if I wasn't a rapper. Because yes, being a rapper, being a performer, literally got me my day job, because that's kind of what they needed at that point as a person with my personality type in corporate America, which I'm telling you, there's not enough people like me in corporate America. I love when he goes, words are only confusing if we lack the comprehension, then we don't know what we're using. And there's a few words like this that I hate. One of them is obvious, because nothing is obvious. Obvious is a very subjective thing. It's only obvious if you know. You can try to make things obvious, but to assume things are obvious, I don't think people understand the word, or I don't think they understand the application of the word. The word nice means pleasant and agreeable. So if your main attribute as a person is if you're nice, it really just means that your main attributes is that you're pleasant and agreeable. That means full of shit, because real shit and pleasant and agreeable can't coexist all the time. There are nice moments. I can be nice to you, but I don't really call myself a nice person. I'm a real motherfucker. I don't have time to worry about being pleasant and agreeable to suit your things. I mean, on the mic, I suppose in this camera, I should try a little harder to be nice-ish, but I'd rather be real with y'all. And I think that's a more admirable thing. I like when he's like, natural attraction is different than lust. Too many times in life, we mistake caution for fear. In business, an advance is not the same thing as a bonus. This song defines, like, it's incredible. It's like why I review these albums, why I do all of this, is to learn this language, is to learn all this shit. And here we have K-Rino, who is basically articulating one of the things that bothers me the most in life, to a point where I'm planning on making a video series doing deep dives into individual words, including obvious and nice, but other words to look at is pop in regards to music, hip-hop, what it really means, because I think a lot of people don't know what these words mean anymore. I really do assume that all of y'all watching this video know what hip-hop is, but I don't think that everybody watching this video understands what pop music is. Because hip-hop can be pop music, but hip-hop doesn't have to be pop music. And if you're going to Billboard to find your hip-hop, well, that's on you for not knowing the difference. We place a lot of false emphasis, but we'll all be all right once you learn to understand the differences. And that's kind of part of why I'm doing this channel. As much as I want to help people relive their experiences loving albums, I want to try to serve as an ambassador to interpret and maybe share some knowledge I have mixed with what these guys are teaching me. So every album I learn something, so fucking may as well share it with you. That's what K-Rino would do. I gave this song a 5 on 5. From a concept point of view, I would write that song. It's so fucking cool. I'm literally had already conceived a video series that basically is inspired on the same token of what this song is. I'm so annoyed by that shit. Anyway, I really loved it. To me, it's one of the best songs on the 4-piece standout. 5 on 5. Nothing else can really be said at that point. The last song on this project is How to Be an MC.
How the styles evolve throughout time. The simple and the complex ways people would rhyme.
So, I was a rapper in Montreal. I started taking it seriously in 2012, but I didn't know anything about hip-hop. So I was a good rapper, and I still think I'm a good rapper. But I don't know if I'm a good MC. Hip-hop is fundamentally a very different thing than having a skill of rapping. And that's what I thought was super interesting about this song, is because a lot of why I review these albums is to understand hip-hop and show appreciation for the art form so that I can at least contribute to it and not just be another rapper rappity rapping and talking a bunch of shit and honestly diluting the culture with more vapid nonsense. Like, I have something that I call the indie rapper checklist, where it just shows how vapid and mainstream sounding they are in their efforts to not sound mainstream. Anyway, you gotta have love for this art form in your heart. The money part can't be the most important part. It can't be most important to y'all. You would still do it if there was no paper involved. As a rapper person, check, I have lost well over 10 grand in Canadian, so maybe like 7 or 8 grand for you. No, I've probably lost 10 grand US of my own money pursuing all of my different endeavors with this. I can't say I've made much. Total gains off of YouTube is under $300 US. It'll soon be like $350 US that I've made in total in over 2 years. I'm not doing this for the money. It's not about the money. It is a hard hustle, and you shouldn't get in if you're not a soldier. I'm a motherfucking soldier. I keep grinding no matter what the fuck happens. You have to go and study the history of the culture. Oh shit. Who's doing that? I'm doing that. You know how you know it? Because you see me in this fucking review studying the culture with you, literally. And I felt like really validated listening to this song. I'm not going to lie. Every MC, dead or alive, whoever wrecked it, if you don't know how the game began, how can you respect it? He's right. I now know how the game began. I've now listened to albums from all sorts of decades, all sorts of years. And like, yeah, my understanding of hip-hop and even my ability as a rapper has shifted fundamentally the more I study this culture. Learn how the styles evolved over time, the simple and complex, the different flow patterns, learning where certain words belong, but most importantly, the content of each song. I mean, shit, if there was ever anything my one niche of this fucking channel would be, it's what K-Rino's looking for. I'm like, holy fuck, I accidentally made the review channel that proves empirically I'm doing what K-Rino wants me to be doing as an MC. Damn, that felt cool. Expand your mind if you want to be around for years. I've read about 36 books in the last year, like 12-month period. It's all on Instagram, you can see. I put it out there. Expand your mind, because rappers with shorter knowledge seem to have short careers, with the exception of Eminem. But if he keeps going with the vapidness, he's only going to get the kids, and the older people aren't going to like it. But like, look at a Hobson. Hobson has such a promising career, in my opinion, but you might like Hobson, but the guy's vapid. He says fucking nothing, and he's kind of awful from a content perspective. And the more I look at what makes good content, the more a guy like a Tech Nine or an Eminem becomes less impressive, and the more a K-Rino or a Killer Mike becomes way more impressive. Anyway, this is a brilliant song. It is an important song, and I think more rappers like me, especially people not connected to the culture inherently, should listen to it and act it out. And I say that as one of the rare non-hypocrites who can prove empirically that they've been doing this. I love this shit, and I don't care if I make money. I will keep doing this, even if it never works, because my life has improved along this journey. And this is a quest of growth, and I think that's what being an MC is about. It's like a journey that you're on to be the best, like no one ever was. And you should study albums like catching Pokemon, you know, like, anyway, I was going to do something weird with Pokemon there, and then it just kind of died. 5 on 5, brilliant fucking song. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Let's talk about the little album summary. I gave Lightning Language a 4.7. I gave Then and Now a 4.745 or something. This is definitely the peak of the 4-piece for me. I gave this album a 4.85. It is officially up there in like the top 5 album grades I've ever given for all of those albums. It's up there with Nas Illmatic to me, and it's up there with a few others. I think To Pimp a Butterfly beats this one clear with a 4.9, but this might be like right up there with that. I love this project. It is so good. It is so far my favorite on the 4-piece, and I couldn't if you were gonna only listen to one, I would say 3 Weeks Later and the Bike song, because 3 Weeks Later is better once you've heard the Bike song. I love it. You have to check this out. I can't wait to have the money to buy this shit. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you being here with me. don't hesitate to let me know in the comments any thoughts or feelings or opinions you have on any of the songs, this review, or anything. And I promise if you take that time to comment, I will take that time to answer. Special thanks to the patrons, Lindell Williams, Chris Prado, Super Old School 1984, Carl J, and Ismail Gadamsi. They support what we do. They're helping us grow. We got a new camera recently. The more of y'all that support us there, A, it builds our spirits and it helps us grind on. And B, well, if it ever does pick up, I can go ahead and buy all those damn albums, like I said, and just shit like that. So you'll help us get to a point where we can maybe leave day jobs and go all in on focusing, like 10 reviews a week type shit. That's the dream for me, at least. So if you want to help us get there, you can get access to content early, and you can tell us what to review through Patreon. We have a request pool where every few weeks Patreon will tell us what to review, and then you can join that. And it can be any album you want, whether it's your cousin's, your brother's, yours, I don't know, famous, obscure, doesn't matter to us. We'll do whatever you want. Anyway, last little bit of plugging is I dropped a project recently. You can check for the description of this video for a link to that. And yeah, I would love to hear what you think about my work. It's also available on this YouTube channel, and you can check on the main channel page. Anyway, that's all I got to say for now. I'm going to go get ready to do the next 4-piece review. So peace, and thank you for watching.